The following report contains some disturbing images. Viewer discretionary advised.
Who are prisoners of conscience? Prisoners of conscience are persons imprisoned for the peaceful expression of their political, religious, or other conscientiously held beliefs, or for their identity, even though they have neither used nor advocated violence. Per the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, all persons shall be equal before the courts and tribunals in the determination of any criminal charge against him, or of his rights and obligations in a suit at law. Everyone shall be entitled to a fair and public hearing by a competent, independent, and impartial tribunal established by law.
It is alarming to note that the Pakistani army has stated its intention to try civilians under military laws, possibly in military courts. Trying civilians in military courts is contrary to international law. Amnesty International.
Trying civilians before military courts violates Pakistan's obligations under international human rights law. Human Rights Watch.
Military courts in Pakistan are not independent courts and are specialized, purely functional, and designed to maintain discipline within the armed forces. Amnesty International.
Raees Ahmad, a kind, hard-working young man from Shangla, moved to Lahore to pursue his bachelor's degree from Punjab University. Raees wanted to be a doctor to help humanity. He even cleared the competitive MD-CAT medical test, but due to financial constraints, he decided to opt for zoology. He was managing his expenses by tutoring part-time. But his dreams and ambitions for the future have been halted because Raees, a civilian, has been taken to military custody for practicing his constitutional right to freedom to protest and freedom of speech. Raees Ahmad is a prisoner of conscience. Raees came out to protest on May 9, 2023, after he saw the violent abduction of Pakistan's leader Imran Khan. Raees posted on his social media account asking everyone to come out in peaceful protest.
पाकिस्तान के सारे अवाम को कि अगर आज नहीं निकले तो सारी जिंदगी गुलाम रहोगे। सारी जिंदगी चोर, डाकू, लुटेरे, इन पुलिस वालों और रेंजर की कोई गुनाह नहीं है। ये इनके नीचे इनको हुक्म देते हैं कि इमरान खान को गिरफ्तार करो। इनको कुछ नहीं कहना, अपना काम करो, एहतजाज करो सारे।
On that same day, Raees, who was protesting the abduction of his leader, Raees himself was abducted. Raees was picked up after he left the protest site at Liberty Chalk and walked towards the infamous Corps Commander House where protesters were being steered by the police. From there, Raees was taken to police custody and then to military custody. A civilian in military custody. Now Raees Ahmad has been in military custody for over 300 days. But for about 2 months, Raees, along with other civilians, were in the custody of the Military Intelligence Agency. Why? There, they were severely tortured, both mentally and physically. The intelligence officers wanted to torture confession out of them. Under today's fascist regime, we have witnessed several cases of coerced confessions. And Raees, a young man whose favorite pastime is reading books. Raees, the future zoologist who loves helping others, was tortured the most because Raees refused to give a false testimony. He was kept in a dark room with no exposure to sunlight, hood over his head, hands tied behind his back. Not allowed to sleep, he was beaten by sticks under the feet, and at times subjected to torture by lashes on his back with rubber whip. They would also torture him through sensory overload. This part of torture tactic involves prisoners being confined in a small room with optical illusions of sorts all around, creating the feeling of spinning in circles. The prisoners were interrogated for 12 hours, 13 hours straight, after forced sleep deprivation. And when they were actually allowed to sleep, it would be with their faces covered and the horrendous sounds of torture screams of others in the background. The prisoners were made to stand for hours at a time in certain stressed positions. And for Raees, he was not only heavily beaten, but he was also waterboarded. All these torture methods are prohibited under international law and also under the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, for which Pakistan is a signatory. Raees finally broke down when they wanted to rip his nails apart. So he gave a false testimony and was presented in front of a judge. Witnessing his physical and mental state, Raees' statement was rejected, only to be approved by the corrupt second judge. However, under international law, confessions given under torture do not count as evidence. When Raees was kidnapped, the state confiscated his cell phone because Raees has a social media account where he spoke up about standing up for our rights, that the average person too has rights and can be influential. He spoke up for assassinated journalist Urshid Sharif, who was steered to Kenya, where he was tortured and assassinated. The torture included Urshid's nails being ripped off, the same torture that Raees was threatened with. Raees' family is a low means family, with only his brother Tufail supporting them. Both their parents have health issues, with diabetes and high blood pressure. Raees' mother was only able to afford traveling from KP province to visit her son in the military compound once in these past 11 months due to family's financial situation. Raees himself deals with medical issues. Diagnosed with kidney stones, he has experienced bouts of excruciating pain. He also has really bad dust allergies, and the condition he is being kept in is triggering his allergies to the worst. Raees' family demand justice, not only for Raees, but for all civilians who are undergoing this illegal sham of a justice system. Raees' family appeal to the Supreme Court to have mercy in their decision on these unlawful trials in military courts. Justice and fairness should prevail, not only for Raees, but for all civilians being tried in military courts. As Raees' big brother pleaded, "Don't be cruel towards us. Free these civilians. It is their right to protest. And Pakistan's institutions do not have the right to torture them. They must be set free."
रईस अहमद नाम है उसका, हम उसका बाप है, हमारा नाम है शफीउल्लाह, हम शांगले से आए हैं। हमारा बेटा ऐसा है, वो छोटा है, उम्र में भी कम है, हम खुद शुगर और ब्लड प्रेशर का बीमार है, एक उंगली भी काटा है, पाँव में भी चोट है अभी, और जख्मों की वजह से हम ज़्यादा चल भी नहीं सकते। बीवी भी बीमार है, शुगर और ब्लड प्रेशर का मरीज़ है, अगर वो कुछ बात सुनते ही तो वो बेहोश होता है। 11 महीना हो गया, अभी तक कुछ हल भी नहीं निकला है। अगर रमज़ान का महीना है, अल्लाह के वास्ते ये जो बात है, हम गरीब लोगों का, हम बहुत पोर फैमिली वाला लोग हैं, तो मेहरबानी करके जो फैसला करते हैं, जो रमज़ान में अच्छा फैसला सुनाते हैं, तो हम उसका इंतज़ार करते हैं।
हमारे ऊपर जुल्म ना किया जाए, रहम किया जाए। हमारा जो मैं अपनी फैमिली के बिहाफ पे ऑनरेबल जो हमारे सुप्रीम कोर्ट है, उससे मैं ये अपील करता हूँ कि ये जो गैर कानूनी तरीके से सिविलियंस को मिलिट्री कोर्ट में ट्रायल्स तो उनके उधर से हो गए, लेकिन अब जो फैसला सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने करना है, उनसे ये अपील करता हूँ कि रहम किया जाए और अल्लाह की इस जमीन पे अदल और इंसाफ को कायम किया जाए। ये एक सिर्फ मेरे भाई का मसला नहीं है, 102 लोग मिलिट्री कोर्ट में, और मैं सिर्फ अपने भाई के बिहाफ पे भी नहीं कह रहा, बाकी जो भी हमारे पीटीआई के वर्कर्स है, उनके साथ भी जो है उनको भी रिलीफ दी जाए। बहुत मुश्किल होता है, और शुरू से लेके अभी तक जितने मुश्किलें मैंने और अकेले में इधर मेरे ऊपर गुजरी है, ये सब फैमिली की अलग अलग कहानी है। बाकी कुछ लोगों का मुझे पता है, कुछ लोगों का मुझे कुछ लोगों का मेरा भी पता है उनको, लेकिन ये है कि हम यही प्लेटफॉर्म पे आके कि हमारी जो आवाज है वो चीफ जस्टिस साहब तक पहुंचे।
Amnesty International has documented a catalog of human rights violations stemming from trying civilians in military courts in Pakistan, including flagrant disregard for due process, lack of transparency, coerced confessions, and executions after grossly unfair trials. This is purely an intimidation tactic, designed to crack down on dissent by exercising fear of an institution that has never been held to account for its overreach. The right to a fair trial, guaranteed by Pakistan's constitution, is severely undermined by this move and cannot be justified. It must be struck down immediately. Amnesty International.